Welcome to Coding, your weekly go-to for the latest cybersecurity news and stories. In our fast-paced digital world, change is, well, it's really the only constant. And staying secure isn't just important anymore. It's absolutely critical. Today, we're going to explore a collection of sources you've shared with us. We'll be looking into everything from the cutting-edge security risks of agentic AI to some really persistent, real-world ransomware attacks, and also the essential strategies, the tools we can actually use to protect ourselves and, our organizations. I'm genuinely excited about how these different topics kind of connect. We've got this fantastic blend of what might seem like futuristic threats, right alongside the very immediate dangers businesses and individuals face, like every single day. Okay, let's unpack this.
Yeah. And what's truly fascinating here is how these different topics, which might seem unrelated at first glance, highly advanced AI systems versus, say, fundamental network security, they actually weave together. They form a clearer, more comprehensive picture of today's, well, pretty complex threat landscape. It shows us that while technology and threats definitely evolve, some core principles of defense, they remain surprisingly constant.
Okay, so let's kick things off with a concept that honestly sounds like something out of science fiction, but is very much becoming our reality, agentic AI. When we talk about agentic AI, I sometimes imagine the world's most capable intern, seriously. Someone who can read thousands of documents overnight, make inferences from complex problems instantly, work 24/7, no coffee needed. Brilliant, right? A savant. But here's the catch, the big one. This intern is also incredibly gullible. They'll believe almost anything you tell them, making them, well, the perfect target for manipulation by bad actors. That analogy really highlights the paradox, doesn't it? So what's the biggest misconception you see people having about agentic AI and its immediate risks?
That's a really good question because what's insightful here is this distinct divide. It's between those building AI and those actually using it. The builders, the engineers, the researchers, they're often focused on these huge foundational, maybe more abstract challenges, things like data quality, algorithmic bias, or even, the big existential risks. That's what dominates the academic discussions. But for the users, the business leaders, the operational teams, their worries are much more practical, much more immediate. They're less concerned about a Terminator-style apocalypse and far more focused on issues like, will this AI expose our customer data or could it make really costly mistakes in a business process? And this creates a significant gap in how AI's risks and capabilities are perceived. And that's exactly where our gullible intern can easily get into trouble.
Right. And that gap between expectation and reality, that's where it gets really interesting. Because while agentic AI can already do some impressive things like extracting knowledge from vast documents or, say, accelerating the software delivery lifecycle, truly autonomous systems, the kind that can work independently in complex new situations, they're still pretty far out of reach. We're not quite at the point where AI can just, run wild without any human saying yes or no. So where are we really with agentic AI today? What can it do? And maybe more importantly, where does it still absolutely need our help?
Well, current AI, for instance, it excels at structured tasks, but crucially with robust human oversight. It can identify potential vulnerabilities in code, for example, and even propose fixes, which is incredible for efficiency, huge time saver. But here's the critical part. A human developer still has to evaluate those proposed solutions. They need to understand the broader system context and guide how they're applied. Our gullible intern, well, it struggles with open-ended problems, long-term planning, and especially high-stakes decision-making where failures have serious real-world consequences. That's where human evaluation is just non-negotiable.
Exactly. And this leads directly to specific kind of novel security challenges. One major area is what's called adversarial prompt engineering. Think of it this way. Our gullible intern is just easily tricked. Prompt injection is like slipping a hidden malicious command into an otherwise innocent-looking request, making the intern do something harmful without realizing it. And context manipulation is feeding the intern false background info, basically lying to it, leading it to make completely wrong decisions based on that bad data.
But the decisions might seem logical based on the false context. That's the danger. This can have serious operational implications for any business using these tools.
Yeah, and another significant issue is the accumulation of errors. Unlike experienced humans who often spot their own mistakes or notice when small problems start adding up, AI errors can quickly snowball, especially if you have multiple AI agents interacting. These small problems can turn into really big ones, and they might go unnoticed initially because the agentic reasoning, well, it often seems superficially similar to human reasoning. It looks right on the surface. The danger here, if we connect this to the bigger picture, is that inflated expectations can lead organizations to a false sense of readiness. It makes them ill-prepared for even the routine threats they're actually far more likely to face day to day.
So it's a real double-edged sword then. As these agentic AI systems become more autonomous, they inherently become harder to control. And when something is harder to control, naturally it becomes easier to exploit. Unlike traditional software, which tends to fail in, let's say, more predictable ways, AI systems can fail creatively, as one of our sources puts it. They can be manipulated in ways their creators never even anticipated. It's a whole new frontier for vulnerabilities, almost like our brilliant intern is, I don't know, trying to win an award for the most unexpected glitch. Pretty scary stuff. Okay, so we've talked about the fascinating but also, scary future potential of AI. But what about the immediate messy reality of cyber attacks hitting businesses today, right now? Let's zoom in on a few headlines from just this week that show us what's really happening out there on the ground.
Absolutely. Let's ground this. First up, we have the recent ransomware attack on the pharmaceutical giant Inotiv. Now, Inotiv is a significant American pharmaceutical and biotech company. We're talking about 2,000 specialists, roughly $500 million in annual revenue, so not small. They spotted a ransomware attack back on August 8th, 2025, and it forced them to shut down parts of their IT infrastructure. The impact was pretty significant. The attackers encrypted certain parts of Inotiv systems. This caused, and they expect it to continue to cause, ongoing disruptions to business operations. That includes access to internal data storage, various internal business applications, really core stuff. In response, Inotiv did the right things, locked down their network, notified the police, brought in third-party security experts, and crucially, transitioned impacted operations to offline alternatives to try and keep things moving. Now, the Quillen ransomware group claimed responsibility. They listed Inotiv on their data leak site and claimed to have stolen 162,000 files, totaling around 176 gigabytes. The Inotiv case isn't just a headline. It really underscores how critical having those offline alternative and a well-rehearsed incident response playbook truly is. That's your fallback.
Wow, that's a huge disruption, especially for a company in the pharma industry where operations are just so critical, time sensitive. And shifting gears a bit, if you still use Skype at work, you might want to pay close attention to this next one. Cyber criminals have been found primarily targeting small and medium-sized businesses, SMBs, mostly in the Middle East specifically. The UAE, Hong Kong, Jordan, and Lebanon seem to be the focus. Until about March 2025, they were delivering a previously unseen malware variant. It's called GodRat. And they were doing it via Skype Messenger before they pivoted to other channels. The method was actually quite clever in a bad way. They used steganography, hiding secret messages or code inside something innocuous like an image file. They concealed malicious code, the shell code, within fake financial data image files. Looks totally legit. Once installed, GodRat harvests a ton of information: OS details, hostname, malware process info, user accounts, antivirus software installed, even checks for capture drivers. And then it can receive additional plugins like file explorers or password stealers. Sometimes it even deploys something called async CRAT for really prolonged, persistent access. It just shows how even familiar communication channels can be exploited, right?
Definitely. And shifting gears again to a more geopolitical angle, we saw Microsoft taking action recently regarding its cyber early warning systems. Microsoft restricted access to its Active Protections program, that's MAPP for some Chinese firms. This action was taken due to suspicions that Beijing was involved in a campaign of attacks. These attacks leverage vulnerabilities in Microsoft's SharePoint platform, targeting as many as 400 organizations. The flaw apparently allowed attackers to extract cryptographic keys and install malware or backdoors. Pretty serious stuff. Specifically, what Microsoft did was stop sending proof of concept code to these Chinese firms. Now, this code is normally helpful. It's a demonstration of a concept that helps security teams prepare defenses, but obviously it can be exploited if it falls into the wrong hand. It shows how to exploit the vulnerability. Now, just to provide balance here, we should note the statement from Lu Penyu, a Chinese embassy spokesperson. He stated, and I'm quoting here, "Cybersecurity is a common challenge faced by all countries and should be addressed jointly through dialogue and cooperation." China opposes and fights hacking activities in accordance with the law. At the same time, we oppose smears and attacks against China under the excuse of cybersecurity issues, end quote. So if we connect this to the bigger picture, it really underscores the complex geopolitical dimension of cybersecurity and that constant tension between sharing information for collective defense and the inherent risk of exploitation.
It's a really delicate balance, isn't it? For sure. Okay, but on a more positive note, we also heard a contrasting story. A story of successful containment. This involved the Bragg Gaming Group cyber attack. Bragg Gaming Group, their Canadian B2B provider, casino software, games, backend platforms. They experienced a cyber attack, but here's the good news. Preliminary results indicated it was limited to Bragg's internal computer environment. Critically, there was no indication that personal information was affected. That's huge. And importantly, no impact on the company's ability to continue operations or access its data. Now, this attack does follow a pattern we've seen of gaming companies facing breaches, so it highlights this sector as a target. But sometimes, the best cybersecurity news is the news that an attack was swiftly contained with minimal damage. It shows effective incident response can work. But that successful containment by Bragg Gaming Group makes me wonder. With these new complex threats like Agentic AI coming up, are our traditional cybersecurity principles still robust enough? Are they enough? Or are we in a completely different ballgame now?
That's a crucial question, and maybe surprisingly, the answer is mostly yes, they are still relevant. What's insightful here is that many solutions for Agentic AI-specific security challenges aren't entirely new. They actually exist within those very same traditional cybersecurity and risk management frameworks we already know. It's not really about reinventing the wheel entirely. The source material highlights some, surprisingly simple-sounding solutions: zero trust, robust human oversight, and carefully controlled access. It's really about how you apply those fundamental principles in this new AI context. If we boil it down, building effective agentic AI security seems to come down to maybe 3 key meta principles. First, start small and govern hard. What does that mean? Begin with low-risk, high-value uses, like maybe document summarization before you let it handle financial transactions. Build confidence, build expertise slowly, and critically, establish clear approval processes and staff training proactively before problems arise. You need that governance in place from the start, not as an afterthought. Okay, second, validate and question everything. This means developing comprehensive test suites, both AI-based and traditional ones, to catch problems and prevent backslides. But beyond the tech, it's about culture. Train users to critically question the AI outputs. Don't just blindly trust it. Make verification through things like peer review and just random spot checking a core part of how your company operates. You can't just trust the gullible intern blindly, right?
Yeah.
Right. And finally, the third principle. Proactively protect and adapt continuously. This means doing the basics well. Regular risk assessments, auditing existing AI implementations, putting robust monitoring in place, and creating AI-specific incident response procedures. Because AI failures might look different. And of course, staying ahead means ensuring your people, your employees, are informed about emerging threats. Through training, yes, but also industry forums, security conferences, knowledge really is power in this evolving landscape.
Those 3 principles: start small, govern hard, validate, question, protect, adapt. That's fantastic. Much more actionable than just a long laundry list. Okay, speaking of fundamental security, let's talk about something many of us use daily. Maybe we don't fully appreciate it in a business context, though. The virtual private network, or VPN. At its core, right, a VPN masks your internet traffic. It provides a secure, encrypted connection between your device and the internet, preventing data theft. It's like a secure tunnel. It's really a foundation layer of defense. But what pinpoints the crucial differences between a business VPN and the consumer VPN you might just use at home for, streaming?
That's an excellent point, because they serve really different purposes. While consumer VPNs, they primarily focus on concealing an individual user's IP address, maybe unblocking geo-restricted content. Business VPNs are designed with a much broader goal: creating a secure route to protect access to company networks and systems. They are built specifically to support multiple users, not just one person. And they offer significantly greater management and customization capabilities for the network administrators, for IT. I think the real takeaway here isn't about which specific VPN brand to buy, necessarily, but it's recognizing that a true business VPN is defined by things like centralized control, multi-factor integration, and often dedicated IP access. These are features vital for securing your entire organization, not just one person's browsing habits. This means things like centralized account management, letting admins easily add or remove devices, monitor traffic, restrict access to certain risky websites. They also often integrate multi-factor authentication, MFA, and single sign-on, SSO, with your existing identity providers like Google Workspace or Microsoft Active Directory. That's huge for security. And another critical difference: business VPNs often give you a dedicated server with a dedicated IP address, an IP address used only by your employees. You can then configure your internal networks to only allow access from that specific IP. It's a really valuable extra layer of protection. So this raises an important question for you listening right now. Are the VPNs your organization uses truly designed for business level security? Do they have these advanced management and protection features, or are they perhaps consumer grade tools just trying to scale up, maybe leaving gaps?
That's a vital distinction to consider, yeah, and a great way to frame it. Centralized control, integration, dedicated access. Now, just to give some concrete examples, our sources do highlight different types of business VPNs that excel in different areas. For instance, for an all-in-one scalable solution, NordLayer gets praised. It boasts global server locations over 30 countries, 1,100 plus servers, easy setup, and strong security integrations with platforms like Microsoft Entra ID, Google Workspace, AWS. It also offers zero trust network access, ZTNA, that powerful model where nothing is trusted by default, even inside your network, plus threat protection features. Seems quite comprehensive. Then there's TwinGate, which apparently really excels in that zero trust network access approach specifically. It uses a cloud-native architecture and allows really granular control per user, per device, per resource. Very fine-grained. And interestingly, it even offers a free starter plan for small teams, which sounds like a great entry point for getting serious about ZTNA without a huge initial investment. And for those who need maximum control and customization, there's OpenVPN. It's a self-hosted open-source solution known for high security, scalability, multi-platform support. You run it yourself. It also offers a free plan, I think, with up to 3 connections that includes all its premium features. So options exist at different scales. Ultimately, whether we're talking about the cutting edge of AI security or the foundational strength of a solid business VPN, it seems robust tools combined with a vigilant questioning mindset are really our best defense.
Okay, so to quickly recap our exploration today, we've looked at the dual nature of agentic AI, incredibly powerful, yes, but also surprisingly vulnerable to manipulation, like our gullible intern analogy. We then moved to the stark reality of recent cyber attacks, the significant ransomware hit on Inotiv, the sneaky GodRat malware targeting Skype users, and those complex geopolitical dynamics highlighted by Microsoft's MAPP restrictions, real-world stuff. And finally, we explored the critical importance of a multifaceted security approach, one that integrates advanced AI governance, sure, but also relies on foundational, robust tools like properly configured business VPNs.
Absolutely. And this broader context really shows us that the cybersecurity landscape, well, it's constantly shifting. It demands adaptability, continuous learning from all of us, no question. But what remains clear, I think, is that those foundational principles like zero trust, vigilant human oversight, carefully chosen security technologies, especially those designed for business-level challenges, they remain our strongest allies. Against both the emerging threats like AI risks and the persistent ones like ransomware, knowledge is most valuable when it's understood and actually applied.
Couldn't agree more. So as you navigate your digital world this week, maybe consider this. How often do you critically question the smart tools you use, the AI assistants, the information they provide, and maybe more fundamentally, are your digital protections, your VPNs, your security practices truly up to the challenge? Are they ready for today's increasingly complex and, let's face it, creatively malicious threats? Something to think about. That's all for this week's Calm Coding. Thank you so much for joining us for this exploration of cybersecurity. Stay safe, stay informed, and we'll be back next week.